Hello, I am Bookface, and I am trying to catch an eldritch horror with a worm. I'm here with my lovable and slightly threatening companion, Pangea, to talk about cryptids with a bit more focus on the zoological aspect of things. I hope you're ready to hear about catfish. No, not that kind of catfish. Because it said they were in my area and I need to get out more. Well, with that out of the way, let's jump right in. Woo! Today we're discussing a cryptid called the Lao, which is an extremely rare creature from Africa, most commonly Sudan. These fearsome flopping fiends are known for living in marshes and holes in the banks of rivers, and it's thought they can be tracked by the ruts they leave in the ground when they move. And when I say they're fearsome, don't take my word for it. I'm an idiot. That was rhetorical, you scaly scrub. This cryptid is well known to the Nuer, Dinka, and Shilluk tribes of the area. When it comes to this creature, these tribes do not mess around. According to legends, if a Lao sees a group of people before they see it, then it's thought every person in that group would die. Though, in contrast, if the group of people were to see the Lao first, then the Lao would die. What kind of weird sympathetic magic crap is this? I don't know. Good thing I'm here for zoology and not cultural analysis. Lao were also seen as mystical due to their bones being used to create charms and amulets to ward off the evil eye, which to those unfamiliar is kind of just a weird nebulous term for evil magic that gets put on someone and causes bad things to happen. In translation, it's just the mythological version of saying bad vibes. You do not pass the vibe check. The Lao are often described as creatures resembling giant snakes and are usually compared to pythons.
From the idiots who brought you Bigfoot Fight Night comes the newest spectacle that no one asked for. The off-brand kaiju battle of African myth. Lao versus Ebigan. Coming to theaters as soon as I pick the locks.
They're often described as having hairy crests like a crowned crane, though sometimes they have long hairs similar to a mudfish. These hair things are also described as catfish whiskers or tentacles. Give me a second, Pangea. I've gotta go check on something real quick. What? I was just looking to eat the most dangerous calamari. What did you think? Pangea! They're light brown or yellow in coloration and are reported to exceed 40 feet long, which is about the length of a school bus. However, some suggest they could range from 40 to 100 feet long and get as wide as a horse. This length would put it on par with some of the largest recorded blue whales, which, according to Guinness World Records, the longest is 110 feet. Oh no. Mind you, these bad boys are the largest animals that currently exist. That's one big seafood dinner. We're gonna need a bigger plate. Some also say these creatures have horn-like growths between the navel and tail tip, and
science time.
These horn-like growths could be vestigial legs present in serpents during earlier stages of evolution. As a bizarre and weirdly specific seeming add-on, the lower jaw is described to have 4 distinct bones on each sides. The lower jaw is described to have 4 distinct bones on each side connected by membranes, ultimately connecting together at the chin, which seemed way more complicated than typical snake jaws, which just seem to be the 2 bones connected to the chin instead of 8. So the big question we're asking in this video is, what is this thing? And is there anything similar to it in nature? The most common and basic guess is that this creature is just a really big python. This fits most of the basic details, like how it has a serpentine body and lives in a swampy environment, and as a bonus, the bones of the Lao are directly compared to those of a python. Despite this though, I don't really think this holds up to scrutiny. Lao are reported to make loud rumbling noises during the rainy season, which isn't something pythons do, and this option doesn't offer any explanation to the consistent detail of these weird tendril things coming from the creature's body. Additionally, and this means the most to me, local tribes are perfectly aware of what pythons are and have their own words for them, so it really wouldn't make much sense for a python and a Lao to be the same thing, yet they call them two completely different things. But while that's still an option to consider, the first option we're looking into is a species of catfish. This comes from a specific idea I read somewhere that suggests these creatures' tendrils contain venom or produce an electric shock. Also, this is the direction taken by one of my favorite cartoons, The Secret Saturdays, when they depicted the Lao. So another point to The Secret Saturdays for being weirdly accurate with these things. Anyways, this led me to a notable fish called Melepturidae, or the electric catfish. As the simpler name suggests, these are catfish that deliver an electric shock of up to 350 volts from electrogenic organs in the body. They use this electricity to incapacitate prey as nocturnal predators, and while this charge is not fatal to humans, it could stun someone if the catfish is large enough. Unfortunately for our Cryptid purposes, the maximum recorded size of this catfish is about a meter in length, which is 1/12 the average estimate for the Lao size. But because I really like the idea of an electrified Lao, I wanted to find out how much electricity a supposed Melepturidae Lao could produce, theoretically. I searched for a bit using electric eels since they're more well known, and I found very little information that helps.
This is worthless. It's less than worthless.
The bodies of these shocky swimmers have an organ with specialized cells that produce a small charge. The charge between these cells builds up into something much bigger that can actually kill small prey, though it looks like it also has a lot to do with how the water is moving. That's research for another day. Or not, that stuff was complicated. Long story short, I couldn't find any specific formula to determine how much charge an eel could produce based on its size. It mostly just seems like estimations. So what we're gonna do is some very simple math with the understanding that there are probably many variables being left out, and that our answer is going to be an extremely simplified one. We're just gonna have to go with the assumption that it's even, because I do not know how I would calculate that. If any actual zoologists are watching, because reminder to everyone, I like talking about zoology. I am not a scientist at all. If anyone who actually knows what they're talking about knows what formula to use, feel free to calculate it. I encourage you to correct me in the comments. So with our basic math, assuming a 3-foot long electric catfish produces 350 volts of electricity, then that would suggest these things produce roughly 116 volts per foot in length. As such, a 40-foot Lao would be able to produce roughly 4,640 volts of electricity, or 4.6 kilovolts, which is on the lower end of voltage for electric fences. Certainly not a pleasant experience and easily deadly, but to get goofy with it because it's me, I had to determine the power of the absurdly massive 100-foot long whale-sized Lao that's been suggested. This math, unsurprisingly, gives us 11.6 kilovolts of power, which is about the amount of power in electrical lines and transformers, not that one, for residential areas. This giant fish basically has live electrical wires coming out of its face. No wonder locals are terrified. So even though a living power plant of a fish that turns prey into Mar from Home Alone 2 is ridiculously awesome, there is another option that I think we should look into, that being the marbled lungfish, which despite not having built-in tasers is a very strong contender. The marbled lungfish are long, smooth fish reaching 2 meters in length, which is still a far cry from our gigantic Lao, but the more serpentine kind of build is promising. These fish have pectoral fins like long noodles and have a grayish yellow coloration, and both of these features fit pretty well for the Lao. Most notably, the marbled lungfish, despite having gills, can actually breathe the air, and as such they live in riverbeds and actually burrow into the ground, where they enter a sort of hibernation, which matches how the Lao can be found by ruts left in the ground. As an extra bonus that I'm definitely not shoehorning in here, noted cryptozoologist Bernard Heuvelmans suggests that the Lao could be the same creature as the Lukwata from Lake Victoria, and that is also a lake known to have a lot of marbled lungfish, literal tons. Of course, the obvious issue to these theories is that they're too small, and that the tentacles aren't for attack and are more just for locomotion. Of course, I'd love for this creature to be some unique mixture of these two species that just grows much, much larger. But no, Pangea, I think we both know what this really is. It was Piranaconda, and it was catfishing us the whole time. And there we have a big African cryptid that gets really wild. Normally cryptids have to go into the mythical category before they get too crazy. No, this one's fully scientific, but absolutely insane. This topic was voted on through my Patreon, which you can sign up for as little as $1 a month. It would also greatly support me, and you get to see stupid little background jokes like this one. Yeah, that guy. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye!